Look at these good looking faces. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. So there's a little bit about the CEAC, the Cinema Esports Alliance, everyone. So welcome to our how-to event. Since so many of the cinemas say, gosh, we hear all this great stuff. Everybody's telling us about esports. They're telling us about gaming. They're telling us how great and fantastic, but how do I do it? And I said, all right, let me get a bunch of really smart people and we're going to tell you how. So our sponsor, NutriGamer, wants to give you a little insight on how they provide a great solution for the gamer. So go ahead and run their little video.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Josh Otero, and I am the CEO and co-founder of NutriGamer. First, I'd like to thank Heather and team for inviting me and allowing NutriGamer to be your sponsor. I am sorry I can't be there. Today's session sounds like an amazing one, and I will be watching how to host an esports tournament online because we do that as well with my other company. So let me give you a little background on NutriGamer and why I'm so enthused about it and why I think you will be after my little presentation here. NutriGamer was created with the cognitive athlete in mind. Think of a gamer, think of a programmer, think of somebody that's in front of a computer all day, which is pretty much most of us now that, post-COVID, a lot of us are working from a home office or from a place like Spaces like I am. We need to get work done, but we also have distractions and we need to be focused. NutriGamer was created to improve focus, concentration, and reaction time without adding any of the harmful ingredients that your traditional energy drink might offer, meaning high levels of sugar, taurine, high levels of caffeine, which all in excess are toxic to the body. We did it without adding that. We wanted to keep everything in our product clean and as good for you as possible. So we created NutriGamer with that in mind. Now we've got 3 flavors. We've got organic berry.
Uh-oh. What happened to his flavors? Fred, did it just kick off?
I think it was cut off. Let me try to reshare it again.
3 flavors in it. That was so good.
To be your sponsor. I am sorry I can't be there. Today's session sounds like an amazing one, and I will be watching how to host an esports tournament online because we do that as well with my other company. So let me give you a little background on NutriGamer and why I'm so enthused about it and why I think you will be after my little presentation here. NutriGamer was created with the cognitive athlete in mind. Think of a gamer, think of a programmer, think of somebody that's in front of a computer all day, which is pretty much most of us now that, post-COVID, a lot of us are working from a home office or from a place like spaces like I am. And we need to get work done, but we also have distractions and we need to be focused. NutriGamer was created to improve focus, concentration, and reaction time without adding any of the harmful ingredients that your traditional energy drink might offer, meaning high levels of sugar, taurine, high levels of caffeine, which all in excess are toxic to the body. We did it without adding that. We wanted to keep everything in our product clean and as good for you as possible. So we created NutriGamer with that in mind. Now we've got 3 flavors. We've got organic berry, organic watermelon, and organic sour gummy. My favorite is the berry, but we have a variety box, so you could pick one that you like, and then we have 30 packs once you figure out the flavor that you enjoy. But all of our flavors are organic, and they're good for you. And really, we want to have a product that is good for you on the go, in the office, at home, traveling, wherever. So they come in stick packs. Again, the variety pack is a 15 pack, and then each flavor comes in a 30 pack. So it's easy, it's convenient for you to throw in your backpack on the go, and or keep a bunch in your office like I do, and then I have a bunch at home as well, just whenever you need one, and then throw some in the car. These are really good for when you're working long days. If you work in front of a computer like I do all day, you need to, about 10 o'clock, I start my day very early, like 4. By 10 o'clock, I take one, just helps get me through the day, helps improve my focus and concentration. If you have a long day, you might think about 2, but otherwise one is plenty. Again, really want to thank Heather and team. My name is Josh Otero. You could find me on LinkedIn or NutriGamer.com, NutriGMR.com. Thank you.
All right. And I've used it. I've definitely, I've had that slump and said, okay, I'm going to use the product.
If
Okay,
I use
without
it and I
further
don't get
ado.
Legendary Eagle, I'm going to ask for my money back.
All right, so let's start introducing our amazing guest. Alex Elger, please tell us a little about you and Peoria Esports.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so my name's Alex Elger. I am the owner of Peoria Esports. We partnered with the local cinema here in Peoria and actually converted 2 of their movie theaters that they were no longer showing films in or were no longer using into one being a recreational gaming area. In that theater, we have 21 PCs, 12 Xboxes, 12 PlayStations, and then in the second theater, we converted it to an arena. So we left about 50 or 60 seats in there. We put 24 PCs on stage and have those PCs able to both stream and be broadcast on the big screen so that parents and fans can come in and watch the tournaments as they play out in the arena. So converted 2 movie theaters into 2 esports inside the theater.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Alex. Next slide. Okay, we got Kenny. Kenny's from Epic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kenny Sagishta. I'm an esports manager at Epic Games, specifically overseeing Fortnite. My day-to-day responsibilities typically include working with third-party partners that are looking to organize Fortnite events. So anywhere from the Twitch rivals to the DreamHacks of the world, all the way down to local community efforts as well. And even as far as high school programs and college programs. So anyone that's looking to run a Fortnite tournament, I'll be working with you.
And you guys make sure that raise your hands if you have questions. Kenny, all these guys are saying they're welcome to connect with you. So don't be ashamed or embarrassed to raise your hand. We will call on you. Okay, next up. Trevor Marks.
Fantastic. Business development manager at Space Time Strategies, formerly Real Time Strategies. We're in the middle of rebranding, and I built my tenure coming up with DreamHack when they were building out in the United States and expanding across the country and building out multiple shows. And so I've combined that knowledge with my previous 5 years of logistics experience to become like an operations extraordinaire in the esports space. I've worked with many of the people that are on this panel, and I'm able to take the concepts to reality and kind of walk them through piece by piece. And I'm happy to be here and answer some of the nitty gritty questions on the granular details of putting together an esports event.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, Ben.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben Schlegel. I'm the Vice President of Events at Nerd Street. Nerd Street, essentially, we're an esports infrastructure company. We have a few different things that we do in the space. One, we operate 9 facilities currently across the country, and that number is going to continue to grow. We also have our own original programming, our championship series, which is both online and in person. And we work with a lot of publishers and brands and influencers in the space to help to bring kind of their services and their visions to life in the esports space. So excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, Ben. Next up, Austin.
Hey everyone, my name is Austin Smith. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mission Control, a community platform for recreational gamers. I grew up playing video games, sports, and board games as a kid. I'm not really good at many of them, but I still play them a lot. Rec league sports even today as an adult, video games, of course. And my reason for doing that is it's a way to spend time with my friends. Early in my career, I started in venture capital, investing in early stage sports and esports companies. I realized how similar the industries were. They both had pro leagues and amateur stuff, and they even had varsity at high school and colleges. But one thing I recognized was that I was playing, rec league soccer and volleyball, like parks and rec departments and so on in my local community. And I enjoyed that as a medium to hang out with my friends every Tuesday or Thursday. But what didn't exist was an esports equivalent of that. There's 51 million Americans in the United States who play recreational team-based sports, traditional sports, but there's 174 million Americans who play multiplayer video games. And I, seeing that, tried to find something that we could invest in in my old job, couldn't find it, so decided to go start something in the recreational gaming space instead. That's where Mission Control came from. We help organizations host recreational gaming events like rec leagues, rec tournaments, and so on. We work with colleges, parks and rec departments, brands, and consumer groups. And some of those brands, most notably here, is Cinemark.
Fabulous. And Kenny, I got your question, so yes. So Justin is, if he's not here, then he's not coming. He sent his apologies if he couldn't make it. He's a sick family member. So we'll catch you on another one, Justin. I know where to find you. Okay. Panel questions. All right, so we're going to start with the questions. And like I said, I'm going to ask the panelists a question. And then once they've answered the one directed towards them, anyone else can jump in and share their insight because everybody has similar or even somewhat different insight. Okay, what are some of the key factors? Are we not putting their names against them, Fred? What are some of the key factors to make a successful tournament? Let's direct this one to Ben.
Awesome, thank you so much. So, when you're looking at a tournament, there's really one place where I would start is kind of, what is the model you're going after? Are you looking to go out and find somebody that's, has an existing community and, a tournament operator? So that's essentially somebody that's running tournaments and has a community of gamers. Are you going to go out and find that person and bring them in and ask them to come to your facility and help them along the way to kind of facilitate that? Or do you want to start from scratch and build your own community and market your tournament and sell the tickets and build the community yourself? So that's kind of really the starting point of, when you decide what that, you can start to layer on what you want to do after that. In esports, and I just kind of said it, but community is really the core of everything. And that's where your positive tournament is going to start, is bringing like-minded people together in the same room who enjoy the same game, and then providing them with a series of experiences while they're there. You want to make sure the officiating is good. You want to make sure that the environment that they're in is really positive. The ability to facilitate either bringing in, their computers or providing something for them, whether it's consoles or computers or, whatever that kind of looks like for the given game. So one, identifying what group and how you want to go about it, and then making sure you're providing them, with those services that they're kind of used to getting, and layering on top. Esports is come from, garages and, bar basements and all of those different things. So, what experience can you provide them on site that's going to kind of help you stand out from where they're used to being, and attract more people into their community?
Okay. Does anybody else want to jump in on that? You've all done in tournaments and you've had probably successes and failures. So what makes a good one?
I can jump on and just follow up on that. Is basically from what we found, the biggest key components and what's important for our center is just making sure that, one, you give the access or the ease to sign up. We offer a few different ways for players to join in and sign up. And we also take walk-ins on the day of. We found the esports communities aren't as proficient in planning ahead and tend to procrastinate. And so we'll have more signups the day of than we'll have ahead of time. And that's just how these tournaments kind of go. And then making sure that the key to everything is just that you have the technology, the equipment that's going to give that smooth experience. You can have it in a garage as long as there's no lag and good equipment. People are going to come back and continue to come back week to week. So making sure that you don't half-ass it on that side of things, and people tend to come back for the next tournaments because they want that competitive edge.
Have you ever found there to be a need for additional employees when you're putting on a tournament? Staff?
Yeah, so when we host tournaments, we actually bring in a couple of different employees for the day of. So on our normal operation days, we may only have it manned by 1 or 2 people there at the center. But on tournament days, we bring in an additional one for check-ins and for posting the results, a different one to run the stage and manage the technical issues on stage, and then a third one to run the stream so that we can stream it out and people can watch on stream. And so we definitely bring on a couple different employees for at least the start and the getting everything going on the tournaments.
And this is perfect. Trev, you got your hand raised?
Yeah, I was just going to add that you want to make sure that your expectations for what the community is looking for and the type of tournament, because real-time strategies, you run a bunch of different events at PAX, at DreamHack. We've done things with Nerd Street Gamers. We do events around the country, and it's very important that you understand your own goals for success for an esports tournament. Do you want to have butts and seats? Do you want to put on a great show for in person? Do you want to put on a great stream, a great broadcast? Those are all different elements of a tournament, and it's important for you to set the expectations for yourself and set the expectations for what you determine the criteria of success to be before you carry out your event.
Now, ironically that you say that, Trev, I literally just got a text from somebody who's in the audience who said that exact same thing. You need to definitely set your expectation. And sometimes, like you're saying, it's not going to be the same every time. So
No.
yeah, thank you so much for that. All right, let's throw up the next question. Okay, there are many roles required to facilitate a tournament. Can you talk about the importance of a good tournament organizer or tournament operator? Any one of y'all jump in.
Yeah, I can jump in and speak on this.
All right. It's got to be then after that.
for the bulk of the history of esports, and obviously Ben and Nerd Street definitely can attest to this. Tournament organizers are the heart and soul of a lot of the esports grassroots experience. And Nerd Street built their company on the back of running good tournaments and being there for the community and providing the right things. So, finding a good TO and making sure that the TO is sensitive to the needs of the community and is also kind of got their finger on the pulse can be a key ingress into the esports scene and can help anchor and solidify a community around your venue or around the event that you're running.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Trevor?
a great.
Ben? Yeah, go ahead.
That's a great point. I mean, the tournament organizer, they're going to be your biggest advocate with you to the community, and that's somebody that you want on your side. And it's really important to kind of go meet them and put a face together, and really build trust of how you're there to help them build their community and provide a better service to the people that are coming out. because they're going to be the one at the end that really either makes it a go or not, because that's how integral of a part they are to the entire process.
And I'm sure that several of the cinemas that have been on here that are listening now, I'm not going to call out any names, but they said they've held some tournaments that just fell flat. And, you know, I just want to find that opportunity, maybe help them for the future. So I definitely make sure we connect these dots. Okay, let's throw up the next question. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. The other thing about tournament organizers is to understand how they differ and how that matches with the success you're trying to find. For example, like Mission Control, we focus on a recreational approach. So, very simple prizes, and we see a lot of success with just like offering t-shirts because we enter with the idea of like, hey, this is just for fun. Yes, it's something to do with your friends, but really it's a community effort that you get to play video games during, and that's really fun. And for us, that means like we're a 365-day tool. We always want to be engaging the community. That doesn't mean you always need to have something, but we're not a tool for a one-time event. And you might want to just try a one-time event, and there's plenty of tools out there for that. Tournament organizers who specialize in that. There's also tournament organizers that specialize in large prize pools or specific games. So I think the best thing for you to do is kind of from the first question, define what your success is, and then have the conversations with a large amount of tournament organizers or your local ones or specialty ones, so you can basically find which one aligns most with you.
So we have an anonymous question from an attendee that says, what's the best process of a circuit getting started in this? Who's our best contact? And who provides the equipment, or does the circuit require? What does it take? This is exactly the thing I knew we were going to get asked. And how does it, and does it require the circuit to invest?
When they say circuit, what do they mean?
The cinema circuit.
What's the best process of cinema circuit getting started in this? Consultation. That's the best way to get started. I think we have to sit down and understand where you are in the country. We have to understand what are the other events next to you, what are the other esports events in your area, what the closest schools are. There's a list of criteria. Then it's like a conversation. Do you want to go hardcore esports, something like more Nerd Street? Do you want it more casual, like Mission Control? A consultation is the best place to start. We do a lot of events where we're providing a lot of equipment and personnel on site. We bring in, we bring everybody. We're basically like a, event in a box. We bring the tournament to you guys. And so like, I wouldn't encourage someone to go out and make the big investment of putting up $50,000, $60,000 to bring out 100 PCs and set up the stage if they didn't have the criteria consultation first. So the first step is to book a consultation and kind of walk through what are your goals, what are you trying to do in the space, what are you looking for, if you have long-term goals, if you have short-term goals, if you have long-term strategic partnerships in mind. It doesn't make sense to start off using Smash if you wanted long-term strategic partnerships, because Nintendo typically doesn't do those type of partnerships, whereas Epic is a lot more favorable to do things like that. And so like they might be a better place to start doing Fortnite tournaments if that was your goal. So those are the type of things that come up in consultation. And then also in consultation, you can get costs for things and understand, or you can point a picture and say, oh, this is a cool esports tournament I saw on TV. How much did that cost? Okay, this is what it looks like to do that. Well, how do they pay for that? And this is the business model. And we can walk you through the process to kind of get you acclimated to the dollars and cents and what the industry looks like in this, in this year.
Excellent, Trevor. And again, any of you guys, if you want me to share your information, put it in the chat and I will forward it on to our panelists. Let's go for the next question. Okay, what are the best games? I think we know who this one's going to be. Wheel of Doors. What's the best games or genres to use for a community-based tournament? Kenny, you want to start there?
Yeah, sure. So I think, without being too biased on my side working at Epic, I think anything that lends itself nicely to a community that is interested in playing casually or competitively. So when you look at certain video games, and depending on what your goals are, I think this will be a recurring theme, depends on what the goals are for each initiative. But there's a variety of different titles out there that people can play, just depending on the level of competition. So I've looked at Fortnite as an example. Obviously, there is the core BR mode. That's what we have our top tier competitions on for players around the world. But then there's also things such as Fortnite Creative, where you can do racing games or more casual engagement where all you're doing is just kind of playing with your friends. So kind of depending on, what you're looking to achieve, if it's just trying to get some folks there to play games as a lead into something, or if you're actually hosting a tournament, there's a variety of different games out there that you could potentially play. But don't be afraid to try a bunch of different games either. It's important to understand that a tournament doesn't have to be one title specifically. It can be multiple titles. So someone always has something to play.
Okay.
One of the great
more.
things about some of the Epic titles is, one, they're free to play, so the barrier to entry is very low for Fortnite and for Rocket League, and then the ability that they're cross-platform, so you can play them on Xbox, you can play them on the computer, right? You can play them on PlayStation, like they all cross over, and you can play against each other while they're on those different devices. So huge pluses, and that's something that we're constantly looking at our end when we're trying to pick what game and what makes sense and what the community is you're serving is to know a little bit about each of those titles and the differentiators between all of them.
Okay.
From an unbiased perspective, from a more unbiased perspective, since we do a lot of tournaments similar from the perspective of Nerd Street, but I know everybody's pumping Epic here because Kenny's here. But I mean, the reality is that Fortnite and Rocket League are just incredibly accessible games, easy to play, easy to understand, with very large markets. So they're really great places to start. I think what Ben said about the cross-platform thing is really key, because it also removes complexity from your tournament. Because if you're trying to host a tournament where you don't have cross-platform games, let's say, especially, Madden, for example, especially, a year or two ago, like every time we'd run one, you have to run one for PlayStation and one for Xbox because they don't talk to each other. So you have to run two separate tournaments. You have to have two different circuits for each console, and that gets to be too complicated. And so the cross-platform stuff's super valuable. The other thing that I'd like to note is that games that have smaller teams are more accessible as well. So something where it's 2v2 or 3v3 or just one person's playing by themselves, like that's a lot easier than getting a team of 5 or 6 people together. So we see a lot more success in the games that are a little bit easier, a little smaller to get together. So that's something that we see a lot of help in. Super Smash Bros is another one that I should give a shout out, but Fortnite and Rocket League are big ones.
All right, fabulous. Let's move on with our questions. You guys are awesome. Next question. Okay. What approvals need to be undertaken with publishers to host a local community tournament?
Yeah, so I can jump in here. Heather, I provided you with a link. Please feel free to share that with the audience. But each publisher basically has a set of community guidelines or a community license that anyone can operate under. And then there's also another additional level if the tournament or event that you're looking to host goes beyond those community terms, where you can submit through a form or ask to have a custom license. So for example, this is a form that we created specifically for Fortnite, and at the top there's the Fortnite event license terms. That's to run community events, as well as our brand guide, which is also another important thing when it comes to promoting the event, just to ensure that you protect the publisher's IP. And then if there is an instance, like for example, our terms, we don't allow a tournament to last longer than 4 days in a row. But if you wanted to do a full-on campaign for multiple months, you could fill this form out and you could apply for a custom license for us specifically. Now, I will call out that every publisher is unique. Some publishers have more complex event license terms. Some don't even have any out there at all. And you try to figure it out the best that you can as a third-party tournament organizer. But most instances for the most popular titles, especially in esports, will have some sort of similar event license terms or brand guideline for you to abide by.
Excellent. That answers, I'm sure, a lot of questions for people that go, how do I do this? This is a great how answer. All right, let's go to the next question.
I'll just add on really quick there to what Trevor had mentioned. A good consultant will be able to help you navigate all that depending on the title. A good consultant should have those various contacts with tournament organizers that are familiar, as well as the different publisher relationships that you need to get these things off the ground.
Fabulous. Okay, so we can do another question. Okay, how important is prizing for a local event? Let's start with Adam up there. I mean, Alex.
Yeah, so we feel prizing is definitely a way to get people in the doors, but on a lot of our community events, and we host a lot of school events as well, prizing isn't the real key to it. I mean, we'll have a lot of people with $5, $10, $15 entries that are more than happy to come play, and it gets more people into the tournament, gets more competition, and lets them play longer. And people are happy to pay the lower amount and kind of play for a couple hours in a row than they would to get 6 people out there for $25 or 25 people out there for $10. So we find that prizing isn't really, at least on a local level and in our size of level, isn't the key that really draws people into the doors. We've done a couple tournaments with a lot bigger prize pools and higher levels, higher entry prices, and they do nowhere near as well as the $5 and $10 ones. And I think a few others could speak to that. And obviously there's going to be bigger venues that do bigger tournaments than what we host. But for the weeklies that we do and for the once a month tournaments that we do, we tend to keep the prize pool smaller and keep the entry level smaller as a result. And it works out just fine for our facility.
And do you work with your local community to go to your car dealerships or somebody around you in a 5-mile radius, they want to give up some stuff as prizing? Is that a
Yeah,
option?
so we have sponsorships. There's sponsors for the facility that sponsor the facility. They're on stream. They add to the prize pools. G Fuel's been one that's added to it, and the distributor, they've added to it. But again, like the bigger prize pool tournaments that we did where people are throwing into and we're adding cash into the prize pool and things like that really didn't have the same levels of success that the lower cost ones did. So we always are happy to add to the prize pools and give more to the players, but we just find the key is just keeping the entry price low, and you're gonna have a lot more success in those tournaments than having to try to host a bigger level than what you are. And I think Trevor was speaking to that too, is kind of know your audience, know your venue and your space, and right size it for what you want to do.
Love it. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, to answer the question directly from Mission Control's perspective, and again, we take everything from this recreational gamer perspective. You know, my experience of I like playing with my friends, but I'm not very good, sort of thing. The prizing is not important. That's what I would directly say. And I say that not in that like you don't need to find how to like put $10,000 prizes out there or something like that. This is like, how do you make the experience as interesting and as exciting and as rewarding as possible? It doesn't have to be a cash reward. I mean, just making the champion feel like they're a big deal, giving them, a big bucket of popcorn in front of everybody, or just, whatever you have like nice and easy and accessible and making them special. That's what matters. That's what's different. So most of the tournaments we run, we offer, either, a simple in-kind gift card or a t-shirt, or, a lot of parks and recs we work with will just give them like a small plastic trophy and then, put them on their Instagram. And like, that's enough. A lot of people who are out there, especially at this lowest level, they're in there for the experience. So make the experience special. You don't need to make the reward, something that an amateur professional would want to go win. And then it kind of actually works against you, because then the people who are like, I'm just in this for the fun, I don't want to go get crushed by somebody who's trying to win $10,000. It actually works against you as far as attendance goes. So again, it depends on your goals and what your goals are. But for me and my perspective, a lot of the time I say prizes aren't super important. Something to like be significant or special is good.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be huge in monetary value. So
one of our attendees said, hey, just remember that if you're a cinema, you can give out tickets to movies, right?
Yes.
So that's a great value add. So thanks, Brian, for contributing to that.
I just want to quickly add that there is definitely a distinction between the casual and the hardcore community, and you kind of have to pick a wolf to feed. And you don't want to get lost in the sauce where you're kind of half competitive, half not. When Nerd Street hosts, casual events or open events, they're very, prolific about what they're doing. If I'm doing a free play and it's kind of open and you can come in and play and have a good time, it's different. But it's like, you know, if you're about this life, you're trying to win this money, you're trying to prove that you're the best, that's different messaging. So understanding your audience is important when you're picking the prizing and what you're pursuing for that community.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And thanks for the audience for chiming in. I appreciate it. All right, to stream or not to stream, what are the benefits? Who's gonna raise their hand? Come on.
I'm happy
Okay,
to jump in. So we
Yes.
personally like to jump in and get the stream going, just because of the additional layer of esports should be accessible for fans to view. And so we feel like even if the attendance isn't a lot in center, you get a lot more audience on, and those people are more likely to join for the next one when they're seeing their friends, their family members, their community, other people playing the games they like. So we just feel like it's a great way to advertise these tournaments are going on, and a great way to, at a very low cost to yourself, be able to grow kind of your brand and grow your tournaments that people know it's there just by having it up on stream. So we try to go live every day when the center is open, but especially during the tournaments, it adds that extra layer of legitimacy for the high schoolers and for the weekend tournaments when you have the stream going for them.
Excellent. Come on, Austin, you got to chime in.
Yeah, happy to chime in. For most of our things and for the events we put on, we don't have a stream. And I think part of that's because we do a lot of digital events, and a lot of our experiences with Cinemark, for example, have been digital. So it's hard to stream. What we do see, I mean, you can go in and like Google, or not Google, but go into Twitch and like search Cinemark and like just search that word, and you can find a ton of players who are playing digitally, basically paying Cinemark in their stream because they're in the tournaments there. So it definitely has a component of it, and it definitely helps, especially if your goal is to like, have exposure. Like Cinemark is doing that by hosting these tournaments, and then people going on Twitch independently without us asking and streaming stuff. So that's kind of a piece of it, and I think really exciting. But you don't have to, especially if the event's digital. I do think it never hurts. But especially if you're just starting to if you're just trying to start out, I wouldn't put it as a barrier to not enter into something.
Awesome. Okay, let's go for the next question. You guys are great. Next question. All right. Okay. What would you recommend as the first steps for a cinema looking to start their own tournament, and what tools are out there to help organize an event? Ben, you want to start that one?
Yeah. So I would sit down, right? Okay, what am I trying? And we kind of hit on some of these, and I'll try to summarize them up a little bit. Is one, right? We hit on those, like, what are the goals of the tournament I want to do? Who do I want to engage? Super gamer, the more local gamer. And then from there, you start kind of looking around, like, do I want to engage somebody locally, right? There's esports happening in every town, across America. Like, you hear a lot about the larger TOs or the bigger circuits and those types of things, but there are those community grown events that are happening, in just about every town across the country. So do you want to start there, or do you want to go find someone that's going to help you kind of start to put, all those different pieces together? And that's really kind of where I would start to towards is, community or national. And then same thing on the TO front. Do I want to go like community driven, or someone more nationally, be a part of something bigger? And then from there, a lot of it's research online, like, Google the game, Fortnite community guidelines, right? And go in and read like what the restrictions are, and go on the Reddit boards and try to, go in Discord and just learn a little bit about the communities that you're trying to engage, and find out, what they're already doing and where they are, and try to meet them halfway. And I think you'll find, a lot of success if you can add value to your local community that's already out there. And then maybe from there, you can layer on some more, becoming part of a national circuit or working with a larger TO.
So to that, I'm gonna ask Matt, because he's with Cineplex, and then Sammy, who's in the audience. She does community for her cinema chain. And Sammy, if you're up to it, I'd love to allow you to talk. But Matt, why don't you go first? And Sammy, if you're up to it, send me a text and I'll throw you as allowed, because maybe you have some questions. I've listened to Sammy a lot. I mentor her. So this might be a great opportunity for her to ask with y'all still in the room. So go ahead, Matt.
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of what Cineplex focuses on now is largely watch parties and that kind of thing, as far as what can be done in the cinema. So I'm happy to look at some of those opportunities with anybody and everybody. We recently just did a Fortnite broadcast at the end of May. It was just at one location in Toronto, but it was quite successful. And it was an event where we simply took the feed from the tournament, put it on screen. We had giveaways for the audience members that were in place. We had very reasonable ticketing that was in place. So any inquiries on questions around streaming events and on-screen watch parties, I'm happy to provide any guidance or assistance on some of that.
Excellent. So Sammy, I've allowed her to speak. So go ahead, Sammy.
Yes, no, thanks, Matt, I really appreciate you mentioning that. We are actually one of the theaters right now, Legends of Thieves, or I'm so sorry, I'm probably butchering that. I know that we are hosting just watch parties right now for them. And we were so surprised to see, the type of audience that's coming in. So I would love to pick your brain a little bit more about like, how do you gear into what people are interested in and how you can host those tournaments to what they're interested in viewing. Alex, I actually would love to pick your brain. You had mentioned earlier the theater out in Peoria, and having 12 Xboxes, PlayStations. I'm just curious, how do you guys have that logistically set up for the auditorium in terms of AV needs? Is it just all HDMI? I know there's only so much you could put through the projector. So is it like a split screen?
We actually set up stations. So in the theater, the main theater that we use for the recreation, the birthday parties, things of that nature, we actually removed all the seats and basically put out kind of platforms, if you will, and put tables on it. So we have rows and rows of tables, and we have a screen for every single system in there. So when you walk into the theater, I'm sure I could share photos, but we probably have 40 screens and rows throughout the theater, and people come in and use it as whichever game they want to play on. So Landmark is who I work with, but they're the cinema that I work out of. And basically we partnered. We came in and they had initially partnered with a land center out of Indianapolis. They came in and kind of built out the facility, and then they sold it outright to Landmark. And then I partnered with them and kind of took over the space that they had and then upgraded what they were doing in it. But we do it as kind of a revenue share. So the cinema didn't want to take on the full investment and kind of split it with me, where we invested in building out the center for them, and we do a revenue share on what we do going forward. And so that was kind of the model they used to get started on it. But it's been a few years in the making, where they kind of had an idea. Land Center came in initially and said they were going to run it outright, and it was a lease agreement at that point. And then when they decided they didn't want to do land centers anymore, they sold it to Landmark, and Landmark brought me in as a partner after that. But we use the big screen, the projector screens, if you will, as a way to kind of do the watch parties. We have some Twitch streams up. We keep 3 screens wide, and we do like Twitch streams. We have people inside the center who are playing. We put them up on the big screen and kind of give them experience using the big screens. And then when we have matches then on the arena side, then those feed through to our streaming PC, and then the streaming PC kind of does a production board, if you will, where it switches between who's playing on the big screen and switches between the views of the players. So we use the projector as different ways to kind of add to the experience, but each system has its own screen set up. Each PC, each game system has its own screen set up on tables and rows.
Okay, and then so with the setup for that, it's typically what, 4 to 6 people per screen? Because you said there was about 40.
So it can be all sorts. So I mean, you can play multiple people on one screen, but most of them are 1 player per station. So on the PC, we'll have the 3 people around the Rocket League team together sitting side by side, and the people they're playing are on a different row or playing sitting across from, depending if they're on the stage. I think Smash Ultimate's really the only one where players kind of prefer to play on the same screen or on the same system because of lag, maybe NBA 2K as well, Madden, but for the most part, they're all on their own screens, they're all on their own systems.
So I know that you guys had mentioned the licensing agreements. So how do you guys charge for that? For just walk-ins? Like we just walk in and you pay a flat fee, or is each gaming different? And then do you have a duration?
Yeah, so for our cinema or for our center, we do $5 an hour is kind of the base fee where people come in and they can play anything they want, $5 an hour. There's different packages that we do. Tournaments are a little different, obviously. But just to come in off the street and play the games, they just pay an hourly fee.
So then do you guys also allow for the schools then to rent out that same space?
Yeah, the schools rent it out anywhere between $20 and $50 an hour for their teams. Some schools will come 10 or 15 hours a week. Some do semester rentals, and some will do host matches on stage where they play head-to-head against other local schools on stage. Some just use it for practices and play in like national or local leagues. I think GG Leagues is one that does an Illinois State, Playverse does an Illinois State one, and then High School Esports League does kind of a national one. So a lot of our schools will play in leagues like that and use our facility to come over and play for their matches or come over and do their nightly practices after school at our facility. We host 7 high schools right now at our facility.
Do you guys have any elementary or middle? I know ISU from Normal has come over to you guys to facilitate with
Yeah,
you.
we've had ISU before. Bradley University's come over before. They're a club team. And we just opened, so when I brought it in last year, we did only high schools. This fall, we're offering for the first time middle school leagues, and District 150, which has 7 local middle schools in our area. They're going to be bringing on their middle school teams and coming over for it. But the middle school leagues are more the Nintendo Switches or Fortnite. So they play Rocket League, they'll play Smash Ultimate, they'll play Fortnite, but they really focus on using the Nintendo Switches for our middle school leagues locally, where the high schools play pretty much all games on all systems.
So do you create then a curriculum to tie back into each one of those games that they're playing? Like, you know, so the teachers can teach teamwork, communication, you know, any.
We don't really have a curriculum. I mean, our coaches have coached all the high school teams. So like my staff members actually are the high school coaches at like 4 of the 7 high schools. They actually are hired on by the schools to coach the teams. And so they more or less are coaching and working on strategy and how each game is played. On the middle school level, we created custom leagues for them to join so that they can play locally against other schools and other kids in the area. So we partnered with GG Leagues to do that last year, and that the school will be hosting in the fall this year. But we have not created like an in-classroom curriculum or an after-school curriculum of that manner yet.
Okay.
The district really is just trying to adopt it across the schools and get kids interested, which the interest was overwhelming to them. So I know they have steps to expand it, but we haven't got there yet. We're only about a
Okay,
year.
I'm gonna break this now. Sammy, I'm gonna connect you with Alex. You can keep asking questions.
Oh, yes.
I'm
No,
gonna
perfect.
hop on
Thank
to
you.
Kenny. You're awesome. This is what I wanted, was this real dialogue. So Kenny, go ahead, hop in, and then we still got a bunch more questions.
Yeah, just real quick, Matt, thank you for flagging that you guys did a viewing party, for the most recent Fortnite event. It's actually good timing. We just announced a big championship where we're bringing in the top 100 players from around the world to compete in North Carolina in November. And we're looking to, start having viewing parties again within these theaters. So, please reach out to Matt. He's been gracious enough to provide his info there and help us coordinate that. If you guys are interested in having a viewing party for our big championship event in a few months. And then the only other thing I'll add is that in terms of tools, depending on the game that you're looking to play, for Fortnite example, we do have what's called custom lobbies, which would allow you to have complete control over who is participating in that tournament. So it's not necessarily just an online and you're getting queued up with random people. There's a code system that you can actually utilize where you'll have complete control over who is entering those tournaments. So those are one of many tools that you guys could use to spin up tournaments.
Excellent. You guys are awesome. Okay, let's continue on. We've got a few more questions. Okay, where can cinemas find the right talent to host a successful event?
I'll take a crack at this
Okay.
one. It depends on if you're looking to host a continual event, like if you're hosting it every week, every month, or if you're looking to host like a pop-up, like a once a quarterly, once a month. We do a lot of labor sourcing in the area, and a lot of people on this panel do that as well. And It depends. We are, a event support company similar to Nerd Street. So like you can go to Nerd Street and say, hey, I'm doing an event in this area, I need people. You can go to RTS and say, hey, I'm doing an event in this part of the country or across this network, and I need people to help out with this. If you're doing something, and I think Alex would probably speak to this a little bit more accurately, same thing with Ben, because they have physical locations. There's a turning point on your P&L when you're doing enough events. It makes sense to hire on local talent. And when you're looking for that local talent, I think the three closest places to look are, schools and universities, existing esports and gaming groups that are in the area. And then if there is a group, like if you're doing something in Durham, North Carolina, I have staff members there. I'm sure Ben does as well. Like established groups and consultancy agencies and members in the space will have staff members throughout the country that can supplement that. And you could do a mix. You can have an administrator from my team, and then you can grab some college students and you can put together a pretty good tournament, or you can get a producer from my team and a tournament operator from Ben's team, and you can put together a good event depending on what's available. So, but understanding how frequent you're doing the events will determine where you're sourcing the talent and for what. It's different to bring somebody in for a weekend or for a day to host a tournament versus you're trying to host a tournament every single weekend. Then you're going to need more consistent staff that's going to be there. That's a different hurdle to find that type of talent for that type of event.
And I think the other thing that is important is like what other tools you need to manage registration and game times and all that sort of stuff. So the software is also part of it. That happens to be where Mission Control stands. So we're on a little bit more of a, let's say you have some staff in-house that, is excited about esports or has some experience in esports, and they're the ones that you want to like kind of guide something, but you just need software or community recognized software that's already out there. That's where Nerd Street, for example, can come in, or Mission Control can come in and add like some very base level help on just like the tool side, and then you can start slowly there. So again, it's the first thing that Trev said. It has to do with how deep and how often and how much you're trying to do. And if you're trying to take baby steps, or you're trying to do one big event to make a splash, or what you're trying to do there. Because you could just use internal people that are excited about esports and or have some experience in esports, or you already have identified, the intern or the college kid who might help you with this, and then just find you some software, other tool partners that could be a good fit for you. And by that, I think a lot of the way you can find that is, just Googling, talking to Heather, or looking at events that you think are really cool or good examples of what you want, and finding out who's behind them.
Awesome. We have one of our attendees that would like to have a question. Thomas, I'm going to allow you to talk real quick, and then we've got a couple more questions. You panelists, if you want to answer these questions in the Q&A, that would be awesome. Thomas, I'm going to throw you up, okay? I'm going to allow you to talk. Here you go. That good-looking mug, come on. Thomas, we can't hear you.
Oh my goodness.
There you are. Now you can hear him. Thomas McCall, everybody. Okay.
Hello. Though I can't be seen yet. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, this is fascinating. How do I saw the question here with Matt on there from Cineplex talking about seeing on the big screen. Well, how do people see all this activity? Because I see a lot going on here with the high schools and the mid schools and everything else. How do you see cinemas possibly floating into this?
Who's that a question for?
I mean,
that's an open question to anyone who wants to answer that.
I think there's a couple of ways. I think Alex definitely has a very good case study for a successful integration where you have an esports LAN center on site with a cinema that's still functioning as a cinema. Me and Heather have talked about this in the past, and she's expressed it with the group. I don't have any kids, but I have little nieces, and sometimes I take them out, but I don't want to go see, the 15th Minions movie. But if you told me I could play a round of Counter-Strike while they're watching the movie, I would totally sit down and play a round of Counter-Strike. And I would pay to play a round of Counter-Strike while I'm there. There's a lot of amenities to having a LAN center on site and integrating both with like the casual community like Austin and the hardcore community like Nerd Street, and just bringing both of those communities together. I think there's a opportunity to focus on keeping consumers in the space, meaning that when you have convention centers and we do these gaming events, a lot of it is attributed to like, how can we keep people happy and content inside this facility? Whereas movie theaters, it's kind of like turn and burn, like you want to get people sitting down and leaving. And esports is going to change a little bit of that business mind, meaning that you're not going to monetize more on people coming and leaving. It's going to be, so they come, they stay, they watch a movie, they play some games, they buy some snacks, they hang out with their friends. Somebody might be there for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and their spend will be higher than if they just watch 2 movies, or be comparable, but it'll look different. There's also a tremendous opportunity, especially like with, Epic having their championship. ESL just did their ESL just did IEM with Counter-Strike and had like 1.25 million people watching on Twitch. There's no reason not to have that in the theater. I would love to watch Counter-Strike live in a theater setting that's much similar to it is on stage. It's something about being in that room with the energy of the people. There's a lot of opportunities to start playing around and moving these puzzle pieces around and figuring out where they fit and how they fit. We can start splitting the streams and broadcasting live esports events in cinemas. We can start hosting tournaments. Like if there's a Fortnite tournament, the championship is at the cinema and you're showing it, why not bring 100 computers and do a tournament there and have that be a part of the viewing party? Because if I go to watch esports, I'm also want to go and play esports. It doesn't necessarily work like that with basketball, football, baseball. I mean, I'm a fighter, so if I watch boxing, I want to fight, but I'm special. Most people, if they're watching esports, they're similar to Austin's community. You're watching it, it's fun with your friends, and now I want to go play. And the cinema allows that to happen in the same space. So to answer your question, there's multiple points of ingress for multiple opportunities and multiple revenue streams that are already building out as verticals in the esports industry that will be able to integrate into the cinema space. And I think I'm gonna leave it to Alex because he's got the most.
And I know Matt's got his hand up, and I want you guys to answer. Ryan from Fathom Events has got a great question if y'all can see it. So Matt's got his hand up. Go ahead and jump in there, Matt.
Sure, I just wanted to just to echo on Thomas's question. It really does come down to what the goal is for that particular venue. If the goal is to have something that's long-term and investing in infrastructure and equipment and everything, then that's the goal. If the goal is simply to bring the genre of gaming and esports into your cinema to program on the big screen as a ticketed performance, then that's a separate goal, but it still integrates that genre of gaming and esports enthusiasts into your building. So on this panel, there's been a number of different opportunities to be able to look at what your individual goal or ambition would be for how you want to integrate that into your building or buildings. And it really just depends on how you want to attack it and which ones are, the most accessible and affordable as well.
And keep in mind something too, you guys know that I've taken a job with LG Electronics. We have equipment, we have awesome DV LED screens. We're looking at same thing saying, hey, cinemas, we've got a new product for you guys that you can show this cut, 4 different players on one screen. So the world is taking a look at opportunity to show this type of exciting content inside your room. So when cinemas are looking to reevaluate what to do, maybe with a multiplex, there's lots of opportunities out there. Who wants to take on Brian's question about from the watch party?
I was just going to say one thing real quick is the nice part about the cinemas going into the esports space is the synergies are really nice in terms of scheduling. I mean, I don't think cinemas stay super busy right after school, but now we're bringing 40, 50 people into after school to do their high school matches, to do their practices, and using the concessions on hours where there really wasn't much activity inside the cinema space. We're bringing people in on Saturday mornings and early afternoons to come in and play these tournaments, and you're getting concessions, you're getting staff that's already there, keeping them busy. And so the synergies of kind of the schedules of how you would schedule an esport versus when the cinemas are traditionally busy, we felt was really easy to do the staffing. And then like we were saying on the watch parties, we had the UFC matches on the big screen last week. And so kids are in there playing video games and watching the UFC on the big screen. And I mean, that's a pretty cool environment when you can put any sort of thing up on your projectors while they're playing video games. It kind of creates a unique experience where they'd rather play at your place than play at home in their living room.
Awesome. All right, we're definitely past our time. We're at 11, but I definitely want to answer Brian from Fathoms, because they suffered a little bit. They really came into the space maybe a little early about hosting a really big event, and they said people didn't come. So do you guys have any maybe answer? And then I know Wild Blue had a couple of great questions, and hopefully we can answer her if you guys didn't. Some great answers for these questions.
I had just answered just Brian in text, but I'll say for the group too, which is the best is to have the publisher on board. I mean, we were lucky enough to be working directly with Epic when we did the Fortnite event back in May. And because there was social support and marketing support directly from Epic, the fans will listen to Epic before they look to a theater game first. So that's kind of the first tip that I would provide.
Okay, so Kenny will definitely introduce you to Fathom. I think that would be an awesome step because they're an event company. I know we're towards the end, you guys. I cannot thank you enough. This is the kind of event that just makes me so incredibly happy. You can tell from our audience, they have sincere interest. They want to work with you guys. Alex, you're great, like Trevor said, case study. And I'm just proud of everybody who's willing to share their insight with this audience. So any final anything before we say goodbye? Thomas, also, thank you for jumping in. I'm going to take you off now.
I would just say thank you, everybody, for attending. I love these types of events. I love these types of engagement points with new emergent industries. And I think, esports is an industry where a rising tide raises all boats. So all of us here are excited to be here. We're all excited to share our knowledge, and we're all excited to continue to grow this space in a way that is profitable and helpful for everybody involved, and ultimately provide consumers a really good time when they are coming out, because that's what this all is about, is people going and playing video games and smiling and having a good time at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, everybody. I wish I had more time, but we'll do another one in a couple months. If you have anything you really want me to cover, let me know. I'm going to cover equipment. I'm going to cover some marketing, sponsorship, stuff like that. So until next time, thanks for coming to the CEAC How To event. Ciao, everybody.